Mark here, Wednesday, January the 21st, just after 10 a.m. Eastern. That's just after 3 p.m. GMT. US session well underway and into the latter part of the European session. Interesting morning on the political front. The Davos World Economic Forum in Switzerland going on. President Trump has addressed the forum. Market has not really moved yet. I do believe that it will move later in the day with more bilateral meetings coming up, question and answers being interviewed. But so far, not much has, the markets have not really reacted. Probably I would think the biggest talking point coming out of Trump's address was the fact that he said he would not use force to take Greenland. But I think that story is far from told, and we will hear more. And I think the markets will react, and I do expect lots of volatility following up today. Let's have a look how the US dollar is performing. US dollar index pretty much where it closed yesterday, has tried higher, has tried lower. I'll move from yesterday, our resistance and support levels, to where we stand today. I've got resistance at 98.51. I've got support at 98.16. But for now, sitting pretty flat where, again, same as yesterday's close, but I do expect lots of movement throughout the US session. Trend is down, lower lows, we can see that. And if we continue to see dollar weakness, the 98 level is the 98 support area, is the area that sellers will be looking at. Let's have a look at the majors, how they're performing, starting with the euro. And you can see a similar pattern. Yesterday and the day before, weak US dollar. You see how the euro rallied against the US, and so in so doing, reversed the downtrend, which had been strong US dollar, reversed to weak US dollar. And so far today, hanging around yesterday's close. I've got support at 116.99 and I've got resistance at 117.44. A continuation of dollar weakness would see buyers of euro, sellers of US looking up at this 117.50, higher, looking up to the 118 level. A continuation of, or a reversal, should I say, of the past 2 days back to dollar strength, like we have seen most of the year, would see sellers looking down at the 117 level. Let's have a look at the pound against the US. Pound has strengthened against the US, carrying on, continuing what we've seen the last few days. Buying pound, selling US dollar. I've got support today at $1.34. I've got resistance at 134.62. Buyers will look to test, break above this resistance, and that would be dollar weakness, buying pound, selling US. Alternatively, if the US can make a comeback or fight back, would be looking down at the 134 level. But dollar weakness against the pound so far into the US session. US against the yen. Again, very flat. You can see that was flat. Yes, even though the US dollar was weak against the European currencies yesterday, it was flat against the yen because the yen's been weak as well. And we're seeing the same thing today. You can see today's slightly green candlestick pretty much where yesterday it closed, which was a doji showing indecision. Pretty much the same thing today. US dollar weakness today. US dollar weakness would be looking down at the support level, which is at 157.78. US dollar strength, buying US, selling yen, would be looking up at the 158.31 resistance level. But as yet, not much movement on the US yen pair. Let's have a look at the US against the Canadian. Different picture here. Here, Canadian strength, dollar weakness. This is the third consecutive day. Lower lows, lower highs, and lower lows. The Canadian definitely is the leader against the weak US dollar today. Support 137.85. I've got resistance at 138.44. And at the moment, US dollar weakness, Canadian strength, US dollar weakness. If Certainly the strongest of the majors against the US today, which is interesting. If that continues, the support will be tested or at least hang around this support area. If the US dollar does fight back, it'll look to bounce up off this 138 where it's sitting right now, looking up at the 138.44 level. So interesting situation that we see. We've had dollar weakness the last couple of days. Today, everyone anticipating what would come out of Trump's address uh, at Davos. Not much has come out just yet. Market kind of absorbing everything else so far. I do believe that we will see, I'm calling it a delayed reaction or more coming out of the meeting. And I think that'll be once there are more interviews and bilateral meetings and more will get said, more will come out. And I think the markets will respond accordingly. But because Trump specifically said he won't use force is the reason why the US dollar at this point hasn't yet weakened the way we saw yesterday. Good trading. We've got our resistance and support levels to work with, and I will see you at end of day session.